Hello, everyone. We're going to give it a few seconds while people are joining, but I'm excited to have you here today. We do have a lot of people that have registered, so excited to present to you all. So just like I said, we'll give it just a couple minutes for everybody to get in. But welcome to our webinar with Insightful Accountant and our presenters, Landy Insurance. So we're excited to have you here on this wonderful Tuesday afternoon. Maybe it's morning for you. It's Eastern time for me. I'm in Rhode Island. We're on the East Coast, Betsy and I. And
Morning,
Betsy, everything's
everyone.
all good. You can see the slides. You
I
can see everything.
everything. Yep, I'm good.
All right. All right. So welcome everyone to our webinar today. Very excited to have you here. My name's Amy Keenan. I am your host here from Insightful Accountant. Excited to have Landy Insurance joining us today to present on outsmarting cyber threats in the AI era. Just a little housekeeping before we get into the great information. This is being recorded, and yes, we will be sending out a link to the recording afterwards to those who registered and attended the webinar. In order to get CPE, you will have to stay on obviously the entire time and answer the polling questions. And then we also have a polling question at the end to see if you do need CPE. That way we know who on the call does need CPE credits and can get those out to you as soon as possible. It does give us a couple of days to get that done, but please make sure you take the poll question so we know who does need CPE. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A section of Zoom, and we will get to those questions at the end. And I think that is it. I think we're ready to hand over the reins to Betsy, who is going to start presenting on outsmarting cyber threats in the AI era, essential knowledge and protection. So welcome to the webinar presenting today, Betsy. So excited to have you here.
Thanks, Amy. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Betsy Magnuson. I am the president of the Herbert Landy Insurance Agency. We are a national agency who does professional liability, errors and omissions insurance all across the country. So today's topic, as Amy said, is about outsmarting cyber threats in the AI era. We're going to start with the an introduction, all right, about what is cyber insurance. And basically, cyber insurance safeguards your business. It protects you from a cyber attack. So none of us think we're ever going to be a victim of a cyber attack. We all think it's for those big companies out there and read about them in the news all the time. But you're going to see in this presentation that they are going after the smaller firms as well. They try to steal information. They can hold up your computer from ransom, and it's very disruptive if this were to happen to you. So cyber insurance does safeguard your business against a cyber attack or a data breach, and it can help you with the insurance company who you pay for the cyber insurance would help you determine what happened, get your system back up online. They would hire legal counsel. They would send out privacy notices to all your clients who were affected. They would help restore all your data. There are notice requirements that you have to fulfill, and they would help you with that. They would help you if you could not fulfill your business obligations and lost profits. They would reimburse you for some of those lost profits. They would restore your system and your data. Hopefully everybody backs up data, which is highly recommended, and much more. There's a lot that the insurance would cover in the event of a cyber attack, but those are some of the key points that cyber insurance would cover for you. Who needs cyber insurance? Everybody, all right? Unless you are not on your cell phone, you have no computer. Anybody who is in the electronic age of today needs cyber insurance, all right, because you could be a victim. If you have a business and you have a presence online, you need cyber insurance. If you're storing sensitive information, credit card information, payment information, social security numbers, contact information, some states even say a zip code is considered private information. Every state is different in what they consider sensitive information. If you have social media accounts, you could be a victim of a cyber attack. Using email for communication, if you're handling money or transferring funds. These are all services that a typical business would provide. And these are ways that hackers are going to try to access your personal information or your business information. So everybody, I think, in today's day and age really should consider having cyber insurance or is at risk of a cyber attack. So some of the statistics, I think there's a different slide. Can you get on to slide 8, please?
Sure, I'm just going to launch the poll question first.
Oh, okay. I don't think we've gotten to that one yet.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And hi, how are you today?
Oh,
If you
Karen's
want,
here.
I can launch.
Do you want to watch the PowerPoint? Amy, do you want her to do that now, or do you want to just continue?
It's whatever you would like to do. I can certainly stop sharing and we can launch our PowerPoint.
Sure, let's just do that real quick.
Okay.
Excuse us, everybody. This is Karen DePrizio. She's Landy's head of marketing and sales and had a little difficulty.
Well,
getting
Betsy,
on.
we have a question we can go through while we're doing that.
Oh,
How's that sound?
Okay.
How are you requiring your policy holders to maintain WISP?
The IRS, we are going to get into a section on WISP, all right? But the IRS does require that accountants have a WISP, and no, we are not requiring it as an insurance. We are not the insurance provider, we are the administrator, but our insurance carrier is not requiring it as a condition of holding insurance. So it is something that accountants are required to do, but the insurance carriers are not requiring that you have one. I think that should answer that question, I hope.
So you're up to the statistics, Betsy, right here?
I am, yes. Do you want to take over or you want me to continue?
Sure. I'll pass it back to you. That would be great.
Okay, sure.
Great. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So the average cybersecurity insurance claim for a small to medium business, all right, is $345,000. That's a lot of money to pay. That's the average claim. And these are relatively recent statistics within the last couple of years. And I would say, quite honestly, that they are probably increasing. The average ransomware claim is $485,000. And we will get into defining what ransomware and some of these other cyber terms mean a little bit further into the presentation. But again, this is for a small to medium business whose system gets held up for ransom. So in order to either pay out the ransom or and release your computer and your data, we're talking average $485,000. 1 in every 6 business will fall victim to a cyber attack requesting a ransom. Again, that's as of 2020, and I would bet, just knowing the way the market has gone, that over the past 3 to 4 years, that number has probably increased. So a business falls victim to a ransomware attack every 11 seconds. Again, a very scary statistic. In 2003, 66 million victims had data breaches. Now, that's not a ransomware attack necessarily, but they had some sort of data breach on their computer system. 66 million people. And 46% of cyber breaches target businesses with less than 1,000 employees. I myself have gotten calls from some of our insureds describing some of their, who have gotten attacked by a cyber criminal, who thought they did something that was very normal and it just happened. Small to medium-sized businesses are targeted the most. So I know we all read about the large ones in the news. You're not going to read about the everyday Joe like us because they're not big news. We're not big news. Global ransomware costs projected to hit 20 billion in recovery costs. The average is 1.82 million. And ransomware is the #1 cyber threat, and it's evolving with more and more sophistication. So it's becoming easier for cyber hackers to attack your computer with ransomware. All right, so I think we are at our first polling question.
Yes, I just launched it. And we do have a question while this poll is going on.
Okay.
Do you have coverage in Canada as well?
We do not. If you are located in Canada, if you are in the United States, we cover United States, its territories, possessions, but the claim must occur within the United States. If you're located in Canada, no, I do not write insurance for Canadians. Sorry, nothing against Canadians. We just don't offer it. I might be able to find somebody who could cover it in Canada. I could certainly look.
And here are the results. Looks like majority small to mid-sized firms.
And that is correct. Okay, so now we're going to get into some of the really nitty-gritty and some of the terms and the ways that people can attack you. There are multiple ways, and it's becoming more and more sophisticated in today's artificial intelligence era, where cyber attackers are trying to get information from you. So again, it's accessing your computer, your phone, your email, your social media accounts, anything that's electronic is a way for a cyber attacker to attack you. So the first one is called phishing. And phishing is they send out a blanket email, all right, to multiple people, all right, and it's going to look like it's a company or an email that you're probably very familiar with hearing, like from Google or from PayPal or from a bank that you're familiar with, all right? And they're going to make, or Amazon, for example, Amazon customer service, and it's going to look just like it's coming from those providers. And they're going to have you click on something to open that email. And while you're clicking on it, thinking that it's a real email, they're now in your computer. How do you know it's a phishing email? Because there's something in the email address that's not accurate and it's not obvious. It could be a dot, it could be a comma, it could just be a number, it could be anything, all right? So you really have to look carefully at your emails to make sure that it's a legitimate email. And if you're not sure, don't click on it. So these emails have false links to fake websites that look like real websites, but it's to trick you, all right? And there's something different in what's called the URL, which is the email address, that is going to lead you to believe that this isn't true. So look at your emails carefully. An example of about 50% of emails you receive are spam. And of those spam, most of those are fraudulent emails of somebody trying to steal your information. So if you don't have software that fishes out the spam, all right, you should on your computer. An example, just a real life example of a phishing email is PayPal tells you that that your system, that your PayPal account has been compromised. And if you don't deactivate it, all right, something's going to happen to your account. And so they want you to confirm your credit card details. So you think this is real from PayPal, and online you're confirming your credit card while they're stealing your credit card information because it's not real. The next one is a little bit more sophisticated. It's called spear phishing. And spear phishing, and we do have some examples of this later on, is something targeted to your specific organization. It's more personal, as opposed to the phishing one is just sending it out blanket to multiple people from using common businesses that you're familiar with. Spear phishing is more personal to you. So they're going to use very urgent language to make you respond to this. They're going to say, if you don't respond, something terrible is going to happen. Something's going to happen. So they want to make it sound like you have to do this. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences. Spear phishing, pretexting is a text support scam. So the criminal, cyber criminal, assumes a false identity to trick you into installing malware on your computer. So an example of one is a text support scam for a company to gain remote access to your device and lure you into clicking a link, all right, or making bogus payments. So the cyber criminal is going to assume somebody's identity that you know, all right, and you're going to think it's from that person, but it really isn't. And you're gonna click on it, and they're going to install some malware software on your computer, all right, that's going to now be on your system where they can steal all your information. So malware, again, is just the software designed to cause damage or unauthorized access to computers. So that's what they're putting on your computer that will enable the cyber criminal, all right, to get information. I'm sure you've all heard the terms worms, Trojan horses, viruses, probably ransomware and spyware. Those are all types of malware. So baiting is very similar to phishing, but the difference is in a baiting is they use the promise of goods or information. So they're going to say to you, if you click here, we're going to give you free music for 6 months. All right. So they're luring you with some free goods or promise of something to get you to click onto this false account, this false email. So again, you have to look at those URLs. You have to make sure that what you're clicking on is legitimate. And if you're not sure, don't do it. So vishing is a little bit different in that they're using a phone call. All right. And the phone call is to deceive you into divulging information. So they may say, you know, we're from your bank, and your wire instruction information has changed, and you need to give us your bank account your new bank account information and your routing number. And if you give that to them, they now have access to all your information, maybe your banking password. All right, they want you to divulge that. Don't give that information. Always call your bank or whoever the person says they are on the other end to verify that it's a legitimate call. Don't ever give it if you're not sure. Waterholing is they compromise websites that you frequently use. So cyber criminals are so sophisticated that they can see a pattern of your behavior. So they know maybe you're going on to Amazon or PayPal or Google all the time. And they're gonna compromise, all right, send out an email or a URL or an email to you that looks like it's from Google or PayPal or whatever. And they know that because you frequent that, and they're going to put malware on that, and so that they can access your system. So it's a security exploit. is what it is. It could target an individual, an organization, political organizations are victims of water holing quite frequently, government offices. And what they're doing is they're targeting people, even though government organizations and political organizations we would think have higher security, and they do, but they're targeting lower end people on the chain of command who maybe don't have as high security and are more apt to click on things to get access. So social engineering is, again, another manipulation technique that exploits human psychology to gain information. All these things, phishing, baiting, pretexting, they're all types of social engineering. It's just another term that you probably heard a lot of, and it's just like a third-party technique to exploit our behavior to gain access into our information from a cyber criminal. Okay, thank you. So we've got some examples now. So this is an example of a ransomware attack. So again, it's just describing what ransomware is. Ransomware is software, all right, that cyber criminals use that will block your access to your computer or your data. So you won't be able to work. You won't be able to email. You won't be able to do anything because they have locked it up and they're saying, we're not going to unlock this until you pay us a certain amount of money. They threaten to publish the data that they get access to if you don't pay up. Again, can target an individual, a business, a government, and it's very disruptive, and it does cause us all, if we were to get attacked via a ransomware attack, financial loss. So some examples of this can we go back? Some examples of this on the right were First American Financial Corp. It led to the shutdown. So again, this is somebody who does closings, financial for real estate closings, could be any closing. And it shut down this whole financial network so that they couldn't operate and delayed a lot of property closings nationwide because of this ransomware attack. Fidelity National Financial was a title insurance giant who recently faced a ransomware attack. And this Alpha Black Hat was a well-known ransomware attack that was going around. Affected millions of customers. Credit unions, multiple credit unions became victims of targeted ransomware attacks through their IT service provider. All right. So these are just some of the big fish who have gotten attacked by ransomware. There are many, many more, unfortunately. So this is another example of the next slide of a spear phishing and social engineering attack. So the cyber criminal knew that, let's say for me, maybe they knew I was traveling, and they sent an email to Karen saying, Karen, we know that your CEO is traveling. You know, the CEO needs $500,000 for a new foreign investor, and she wants you to forward that money. And they're using very friendly language and nothing that you would think this was real. And they're saying, okay, the CEO would do it themselves, but they can't transfer in time because they're traveling and they don't have access, whatever. So Karen, thinking she's helping me out, all right, transfers this $500,000, but this $500,000 never gets to me because the cyber attacker now has $500,000 in their pocket. So this is an example of a spear phishing where they use personal information about my company, all right, knowing that I'm traveling, to send an important email, making it sound like we have to respond to this or something is going to happen. Okay. An example of a tax filing, identity theft, data breaching. So there's an HR department of a utility company was contacted by their CFO to share employee W-2 tax forms. the CNO began filing his own taxes, he was notified by the IRS that they'd already been filed. Why is that? Because a cyber criminal, or known as the threat actor, had compromised the CFO's email via phishing and impersonated him to get the employee documents. The threat actor was able to file other people's tax returns to cash out taxes to cash out on their returns. So the policy covered the notification costs, all the forensics, and all the attorney fees, but it did not cover the employee's stolen tax returns. So the employees who were impacted had to work directly with the IRS to receive the tax return amounts that were owed to them. So this is kind of like identity theft. It is identity theft by a cyber criminal, all right, who stole all these tax return filings to get the refunds. Real life scenario. So this is regarding email compromise and funds transfer fraud. So this is a property manager was purchasing a new property as part of a portfolio expansion. He enlisted the help of the vendor, a bookkeeper, to help with the transaction, but unbeknownst to him, the bookkeeper's email had been compromised. So the cyber criminal intercepted the email sent to the property manager and provided alternative account information for where the payment should be sent. Everyone was unaware of this compromised email account, and so they completed the transaction and they sent over the $180,000, which went to the cyber criminal's fraudulent account. After realizing something was wrong, the property manager contacted the carrier the next day. So this is when the insurance company, if you had insurance, would take over to find out. They'll try to find out who did this, but they'll also then try to recover the money and take care of anybody who is impacted by this deception. So the funds transfer fraud and the breach response coverages in the policy covered everything but the deductible, which in this case happened to be $12,500. So all the loss of money was covered because they had insurance in their policy. We are at our second polling question.
All right, here we go.
So which of the following best defines ransomware? A type of virus, a program that locks data for money, or a security update?
And while people are taking that poll, we do have another question.
All righty.
Regarding WISP, what about the less than 5K client clause in the FCC law? Smaller businesses are not required to have a written plan.
If you fall under that criteria, then you don't have to have a WISP.
And then whom do you report phishing? If they got my bank information, I changed bank accounts. However, I was also able to obtain name, bank name, routing number, and banking information.
I'm not sure I'm clear on the question. Who do you report phishing to? Is that
Yes.
that the question? If you had insurance, you would report it to your insurance company. If you didn't get compromised because of the phishing attack, you would notify it to your internet provider. And you should try and block that email address so that it cannot get access to your email again.
And here are the results.
And a program that locks data for money is correct.
All right.
All right, so now we're going to get into about artificial intelligence and how it is a benefit to cyber attackers and a benefit to us. It can be both a hindrance and a benefit. So artificial intelligence, just to go briefly what that is artificial intelligence is very big nowadays, and it simulates human behavior. So it's machines who are simulating what we do. So for cyber insurance or for cyber, the benefits are that artificial intelligence can identify cyber attacks quicker and more accurate, all right, than humans, because they're flagging suspicious emails in phishing campaigns, for example. So they can do it on a mass basis. So artificial intelligence can be a benefit for that. They can also identify vulnerabilities in our system so that we can fix them, so that we won't be victim to a cyber attack. So again, artificial intelligence can really be helpful to us to prevent us from getting a cyber attack. It can also analyze large amounts of data very quickly, whereas to contain possible threats. So the quicker you can act on a threat, the less likely that it's going to impact us as great. So again, artificial intelligence can really help us to prevent cyber attacks. It can also, unfortunately, help cyber criminals. All right. So again, just artificial intelligence uses algorithms. That's how they do it, to determine, to read and respond to information. They use a digital representation of what's recorded or what's seen, manuscripts, documents, etc. So how artificial intelligence can benefit the cyber criminal? Well, similar to how it can benefit us, it allows them to automate cyber criminals, many of their procedures, which are very time consuming. So they can attack more, they can have more victims because it's automating what they're doing. So again, not good for us, but good for them. AI also improves the algorithms for cyber attackers to help them hack your passwords. That's why and we're going to go into this in more detail later on, changing your passwords more frequently, having long, complicated passwords, though I know none of us like it, all right, can only help you prevent a cyber attack. Also, visual and audio impersonation. Artificial intelligence allows the cyber attackers to be more sophisticated in mimicking somebody else, all right, or impersonating somebody else, so that we think it's somebody real, that's somebody that we know, or it's something that we're going to likely respond to. So it allows them to exploit us a little bit more easily. So artificial intelligence can be a pro and a con for us. Can we take off the polling question?
That's weird. I don't see it.
Oh, I do. Okay, I got it. It's
think
off my
there's-
screen. It was on mine.
Oh, okay. The next polling question is after this section.
Okay, got it. So now we're going to get into more of the legal and regulatory landscape for cyber and a little bit about insurance. But again, if there's any questions after this that we don't have time to answer, or that you want to specifically talk to Karen or myself about, we will give you our contact information and you can email us or call us directly, and we'll be happy to answer any further questions. So federal and state regulations require, all right, that any business that collects personal information, all right, make sure that that information is held private. All right, so they require us to secure personal information. Every state, all right, has a privacy law. Some states are broader than others. Some states are very strict and others not so strict. But we're all responsible for safeguarding any information that's considered personal information. And again, some states it's a zip code, and some states it's a social security number. So they differ varying upon the state. So some of the laws are the General Data Protection Regulation and California Consumer Privacy Act. very strict data protection and privacy regulations. Anybody who's using payment cards, credit cards for payment, there are strict requirements as to how to protect that information and transmit that information, that you must maintain a secure environment. The FTC requires that we enforce against deceptive or unfair business practices, including those related to privacy and data security. And again, as I said, on the state level, every state has a privacy law. Some of the more well-known ones, New York has a very, very strict, detailed privacy law. Virginia Consumer Data Protection Act, and many others. The two that I know that are the most specific are California and New York. So the next one we're going to get into is, I know we had a lot of questions about the WISP. So all tax professionals are required by the IRS. Now, there may be some requirements if your income is at a certain level that you aren't required, and we can get into those details, but in general, they do require through the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act that everybody have a WISP. What is a WISP? A WISP is a written information security plan. And basically, it's supposed to be something in writing that every business, I know we have one and we're not tax professionals, is required to have, all right, identifying how you're going to protect personal information. That's the general nature of what a WISP is. The detailed information on the WISP can be found on the IRS's website for all your tax professionals. You're supposed to implement a program to safeguard it. You're supposed to monitor it, and you're supposed to test it to make sure that it works. The WISP outlines the goals of the WISP. It identifies who your organization is, who in your organization is responsible for the security protocols. So who is responsible for the WISP plan and enforcing it. And it's supposed to identify and examine potential hazards and list those safeguards. So for example, if you're gathering data, how are you going to secure that data? Do you back up your data every night? Is there remote access? How are you securing cell phones, laptops for people who travel, et cetera, et cetera? It wants all that identified in the WISP. You will find in not only for tax professionals, but businesses like ourselves, privacy laws also require that businesses have a written privacy security plan. Okay. So I think not only tax professionals, it's called the WISP for them, but for everybody else, we're also responsible. Cyber insurance, what is it? So it is a type of insurance that is designed to protect us from the financial losses from a cyber incident, such as breach of data, business interruption, loss of income due to cyber attack, network damage, all those things, funds transfer fraud, which is often called third party. So they direct us to transfer money to them fraudulently, whereas we think we're transferring it to somebody else. Business interruption is a financial loss resulting from a failure in your security or data breach or system failure that is going to affect your bottom line, all right, because you can't operate for some reason, because you've lost data. There's a time period where it's interrupted your business before you're back online. Replacement of your computer, if damaged due to malware or viruses, because they can damage your computer. And you have to get new computers. I would also say for everybody, it's very important to back up all your data on a regular basis. I would recommend nightly. The less frequently you back up your data, the more likely you are to lose data in the event of a cyber attack that you will not be able to easily recover. Cyber extortion, ransomware is a type of cyber extortion. They are extorting you for money or cryptocurrency, all right? And they are holding your computer and your data as ransom. So there are also penalties, regulatory defense and penalties, all right, for not complying to some of these privacy and PCI fines and PCI laws if you get a data breach. So there's notification costs, there's penalties because there was a breach, all right? Your insurance would cover that for you. Service fraud. This covers the insured for costs from an unauthorized and fraudulent charge on your account. All right, so somebody got in, and the one we see most often, it's not necessarily a cyber, but credit card. All right, you see unauthorized charges. This, take it to your computer. Somebody has charged your cloud account, okay, that you didn't authorize because you got hacked. So how to digital asset restoration, how to recreate, all right, or replace all your digital assets that were damaged due to this cyber attack. This is something insurance would cover. Cost of, if your cyber attack impacted third parties, impacted some of your clients, for example, or your vendors, because they got into your system, but they found out information about your clients or your vendors. Insurance would cover the cost of defense and damages from your liability to a third party. All right. Now we are at our next polling question, which is, what is typically covered if a business with cyber insurance experiences a cyber attack?
I'm trying to launch it. Okay. Why aren't you launching it?
Oh, we got costs related to data breach, investigation.
Is it, do you see it?
I
No?
do see it.
Oh.
Yes, I see it.
Well, mine,
You're
it
not
says there's
seeing it?
already a poll launched. I don't have another poll launched.
I'm not seeing it either.
Oh,
Yeah, it won't let me launch it for some reason. What is going on? Okay, I have launched. Oh, here we go. No. It says a poll has been launched. Hold on, let me just see if I have
so if I
something.
click on anything on the bottom here, will that help or no?
This is why sometimes I hate Zoom. Oh goodness, hold on.
Okay.
I just want to see if I have another poll launched somewhere, and that's why it's telling me.
This was updated. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, I don't know why it's
Difficulty.
not letting me launch this poll. Oh wait, here we go. I figured it out. Oh, sorry
Okay.
about that.
That's okay. Everybody see it, I hope? Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is typically covered if a business with cyber insurance experiences a cyber attack? Costs related to data breach investigations and legal fees, losses due to business interruption from cyber attacks, expenses for notifying customers affected by a data breach, or all of the above.
Wow, we have a lot of
While
questions.
people are answering that,
Yeah.
I'm going to have a little water.
All right. And then if you don't mind, I'll ask another question.
Sure.
In your history, if ransomware is paid, do they release the data, or is that still a scam too?
I am happy to say that I have never been victim of a ransomware attack. All right. But from what I hear, they do typically release the data if the ransom is paid. What I have learned is that a lot of times the insurance companies will negotiate with the cyber criminal to lower the ransomware payment. So a lot of times they may ask for a huge amount of money, but the insurance companies will negotiate that settlement and pay less. And all of the above is 100% correct.
Yay.
So how are we doing on time? We doing good? Yes.
We,
are. Good.
15 minutes.
Okay, good. So the next slides that we're going to go over is how you can prevent a cyber attack. And these are probably, hopefully, all things that you all know, but, and I'm sure we all don't do it the way we should, but practice good password management, as I already suggested. Personally, for me, I have to keep a password app on my phone to remember all my passwords because I have to change them so often. And I have so many that if I didn't have this app, I don't know what I would do. So I highly recommend it. It's like $50 a year for unlimited passwords. And again, I would be lost without it. If you're going to keep a password list on your computer, you need to password protect it so that it can't be compromised. So good password management. We recommend at least 12 characters, caps, lowercase, and some of special characters should always be in your passwords. And again, they should be changed frequently. You should not, and they always tell you this, and again, I know that none of us do this. You're not supposed to use the same passwords over and over again because that just makes it more likely that a cyber criminal, once they get it, that they can attack other places. Again, hard to do in reality, but something we all should do. Multi-factor authentication, again, can only improve. And if you don't know what that is, that's just, they'll send you a code. It's an app that you can have on your phone or your computer that they will send you a code verifying that it's you who's accessing. All right. Again, I think we still want to go back to the last one, right? Oh, nope. Nope, you're right. Next one. So the multi-factor authentication, highly recommend that as well. Again, yes, it's a little bit of a pain in the neck, but if it prevents a cyber attack, then it's one step I think that's worth it. Also, any of you who have Microsoft Outlook or Google or any of those things where any software where they're constantly doing upgrades, you need to upgrade your software. You need to keep it updated. If you don't keep your software updated, you are more vulnerable to cyber attackers. So always update your software. Again, as we talked about before, they make these emails, cyber attackers are so sophisticated, they make them like they look real, but there's something in that email that's not correct. You have to look at your emails really carefully. And if you're not sure, don't open it. That's the best I can think. If it doesn't look familiar, don't open it. All right. If you're not expecting from somebody, or call the vendor, or call whoever you think is sending it and verify, did they send it? Pop-ups. All right. They get you in these pop-ups all the time. Don't open them. Don't click on them. Again, and back up your data frequently. That's just going to help you if you did have a cyber attack, how to recoup all your data.
We have a question regarding this, even though we are going into the question and answer period. But is multi-factor authentication, does it improve your chances of getting hacked?
It improves your chances of not getting hacked.
I guess does not improve your chances of getting hacked if you do.
So using multi-factor authentication improves your chances of not getting hacked. It makes it more difficult for the hackers to access you because of that authentication. And I will also say, though, we're not going to get into too much of what insurance carriers require, though if anybody has questions on that, I can certainly answer them. A lot of insurance carriers want you to have multi-factor authentication because, again, it's a step to eliminate your vulnerability from cyber attackers.
And just regarding this topic, one other person is saying that Norton Password Manager is a free option if you want a password management.
Yep. And I know on some Apple iPhones, they have, I think it's Keeper, or there's some that have password managers as well. Some of them are more limited. They only allow certain number of passwords. It all depends what passwords you have, but I was not aware of Norton. So thank you, listener, for sharing that with us.
Okay, so we'll go to our last polling question. Well, not our last, our second one.
Our last poll question and
Okay,
then our
this
CPE
one.
poll question.
All right, last e-poll. What is typically covered if a business with cyber insurance experiences a cyber attack? Yes, I'd like to speak to an agent. Yes, I am interested in guides, webinars, and articles. Maybe in 6 months to a year. No, I am all set.
Our question doesn't match. Our
It
question
doesn't
is a little bit
match.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense. This
Are you
one.
interested in learning more about how
Oh, I'm sorry.
cyber and
Yeah, what came up on my
liability insurance
screen is
protects?
different.
Yeah.
Are you interested in learning more about cyber and liability insurance? So it's a single choice. Yes, I'd like to speak to an agent. Yes, I'm interested in guides, webinars, and articles. Maybe in 6 months to a year. No, I am all set.
I'm just giving a couple more seconds. Remember, you need to answer all the poll questions for CPE, or at least 3, I believe.
So
And then we have our CPE. If you do need CPE, we'll have that poll launch as well while we're doing the Q&A.
would love
Okay.
everybody's feedback. I hope that this has been helpful. Okay, appreciate the Landy poll 4, the polling question. Looks like we've gotten the majority of answered.
Okay.
Right? And so I want to thank everybody for joining this webinar. Again, the Landy organization, just a little bit more information about us. We are in our 75th year of doing business. We are a family-owned business. I am 2nd generation, and my daughter, who works for me, is 3rd generation. So we are here and are not going anywhere. We write all sorts of insurance for business owners and professionals. So any kind of insurance that you need, we can certainly help you with that. We have multiple markets for cyber insurance. And we'd be happy to help anybody and answer any of your questions. Our contact information is here, as well as a QR code that you can scan if you want information or have questions. And again, I hope this webinar was informative and helpful to you, and appreciate you joining us today. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Did you want to answer a few more
Oh,
questions
yes,
before we
yes,
go?
more questions, absolutely.
Sorry. We do have quite a few. So if I back up client sensitive to a service on the cloud, then that service gets breached, then what is my responsibility to my clients? I take it I am still at risk to my clients, even though I trusted a service.
You are, all right, still at risk, but you did good by backing up all your data to the cloud. That's good. But yes, you are still responsible for notifying all your clients of the breach and dealing with the cyber attack, as well as the cloud provider will also have some liability there as well. I hope that answers that question.
Well, and then they said, am I still covered under a cybersecurity policy?
So it was a third party to you. So one would, yes, I believe you would. All right. I would have to, it's all going to come down to how this all pans out in the situation. But if the cloud provider got hacked, then one would assume that their insurance would pick up the cost, but you would still have some liability because your clients data has been compromised. So whether they would share if you had insurance and your cloud provider had insurance, they may share in some of the liability in that. They may have to duke it out as to who's going to pay and what have you.
All right, maybe they need to schedule a call with you guys to get into the
Yeah, I
nitty-gritty.
mean, every claim scenario, I will tell you, has to be looked at individually and weighed on on each individual scenario and how it occurs, because all the factors are going to come into play. So what I would suggest is if that ever happened to you, I would contact the iCloud provider, let them know how they're going to deal with it, their insurance, what have you. But I would also notify your own insurance carrier if you did have insurance, and let them know that the cloud provider was hacked, and find out what your liability is, and always notify them. You don't have to, there's no cost to you to notify your insurance carrier. They can only be, provide you with information at the get-go.
Yeah.
Or your agent, for that matter.
I was just going to mention, when we did we did a podcast earlier in the
Yes.
last month with Gary, and there's a couple questions here that relate to that. So I wanted to add to what you were just saying, Betsy, that if someone was asking, in terms of a separate company, one of the things that came up with what Gary and I talked about is that if with your own cyber policy, you have a partner on how to approach this, because it is such a question of what to do first, or if someone is going to restore their computer, but the insurance company will know they want to make sure they get evidence, because they'll know what's going to be coming afterwards for any legal liability. So just a
Right.
partner in handling the whole situation.
So an iCloud provider in this scenario, they're a third-party vendor that you've contracted with, okay? And typically, again, you want to make sure that most cyber insurance policies will cover, all right, how you've been impacted by somebody else's cyber attack. So that scenario would all play out. To what extent they're going to divvy up who's going to pay what is going to be each individual scenario. But most cyber policies do cover that if you're affected by a breach of a third-party vendor, all right, that it's going to help you as well.
And when I met with Gary, he had recommended, so it's funny, Steven's asking, is there an AI cyber attack vendor you recommend? I don't know if either one of us have personal experience with this, but it seems someone else later in the comments also said there's a company, Tech for Accountants. And it looks like somebody who was Landy, we are their insurance company, Robert, and they have a WISP covered by Tech for Accountants creates WISPs. So that's so like I said, even though we haven't personally experienced with them, Gary has a relationship with them and has
So
recommended.
what was this question? Was it for WISP or for?
Well, it was it was sort of both. The Tech for Accountants helps people like a cyber attack vendor. So I would say Tech
Okay,
for
there are
Accountants.
multiple cyber attack vendors. Okay, there are multiple. I'm familiar with a few. I will also say that if you have cyber insurance, they provide you with information and providers as to who will help you make sure that you have the cybersecurity you need. So they provide you with vendors and information on who to contact, and they will also let you know where you are vulnerable. So insurance carriers will remotely access your account, and they will find your vulnerabilities, and they will let you know what they are. And if you insure with them, they will guide you as to how you can help patch those vulnerabilities. And they will also provide you with information for third-party vendors that can assist you even further. Next question.
So we answered the AI cyber attack vendor you recommend. Do you want to just send out an email with examples as a follow-up of
Examples of what? I'm sorry.
of AI cyber attack vendors?
I don't know that we can do some research and recommend a few of vendors sure. If somebody wants some vendors, they can contact us directly and we can provide them with that information,
Perfect.
I think.
And this one you might also want to follow up with them on and send them an example of how AI would be used to impersonate someone on an online conference. So I'm assuming that would have to be sent afterwards.
On an online conference.
Do they mean
Well, a
perhaps?
cyber impersonator could get on the call and make like they're somebody who's supposed to be on the call, but not really that person. So the thing that they sound like, they impersonate your voice. All right. It makes it sound like it's the person you think you're talking to, but it's not really that person. Is that what you were going to say, Karen?
Yes, yeah, that you had mentioned that in one of the other slides, that they can accomplish that even with just a voicemail, your outgoing message. If they record that outgoing message, they can then
Right. So they can get
impersonate
into your phone system, all right, and they can listen to your voice, and they can then manipulate with AI to make it sound like that it's coming from somebody that you think it is, but it's not really that person. Very scary. I think it's truly scary.
Mm-hmm. Okay. A tip from James, along with keeping software up to date, make sure you keep the firmwares for your routers, firewalls, network switches, and wireless devices up to date as well.
Absolutely. Good point, James.
And then you might be able to do this offline. Please give an example of how AI is used to impersonate someone on a cell phone.
Same thing. Okay. They've hacked your cell phone. They hear maybe your greeting or your voicemail message. All right. So, maybe they can just impersonate you. It's no different.
Yeah. If all of our passwords are in an app and we get hacked, won't they have all of our passwords?
No, because those apps are encrypted.
There you go.
If you're purchasing an app that's not encrypted, then it's a waste of your time.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said, I keep a password notebook, old school on paper, can't be hacked. That is true.
And I used to do that. All right.
Of course, if you lose it, then you're in trouble.
And if you lose it, you're in trouble. Right. All right. And again, because you're in multiple places, I don't know if you take that with you everywhere you go. All right. But an app is on your devices anywhere you go. So it's just easier. Whatever works for you. Old school is fine.
Someone said, I already have cybersecurity insurance with Landy. Is there a risk in scanning barcodes in general?
That's a good question. I have not heard anything about scanning barcodes be at risk, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if in the future there was some risk. Have you heard about anything about that, Karen? I have not.
Well, the QR codes can be manipulated because the imagery on them is so subtle.
How do you know if it's a true barcode? That's a good question.
I think that can actually be part of what happens with water holing. So if someone changes that barcode and it's someone going to somewhere they think is trusted, and then because it's impersonated at such a high level, you could think you're on a legitimate website.
Yeah, probably very hard to detect. I would think. Good question.
And that was the last question. Woohoo! Thank you, Landy. Thank you, Betsy.
You're
welcome.
Thank
you,
you,
Karen, for
Amy.
joining us. This obviously was very informative, and there was so many questions, which I loved, very interactive, as best as we can, right, from the Zoom webinar. But we truly do appreciate you being able to present today on this topic. And again, the recording will be sent out, CPE will be sent out. I had a couple of people ask for the slides, so if you could send me a PDF version of the slides, I will include that in the recording email as well. And we'll make
Absolutely.
sure that you guys get all those questions that everybody asked. So in case you want to follow up with them with more information. But thank you, everyone. And thank you again, Landy, and have a
Thank you,
great day.
everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.